Quiet is what wakes me into accounting. One plant droops in the cold, long purple leaves, thick stem, could be bromeliad. What do I know of plants? She told me the baby would learn to love the playpen, a personal space. Years ago, my brother pulled himself to a stand on the bars of the pen in the living room, up and toppling backwards, over and over again. Silent. My daughter screamed, never tolerated the pen or the crib for that matter. A moth flutters towards cirrus clouds. Birds. I hear them, can't see any. Winter light. Her first word was bird, then bus, an electronic hum that passed our house every half hour. Running water in the fountain drowns out little. I would need the ocean. When I was young, like water, I was a shapeshifter oozing into any closed container. I am too free with advice. It is so hard to listen to the small plane low in the sky. A warning, then nothing. This plant thickens with the rains. I could never stop being water. Dust for my sake, a sestina. 2 notes. 1, I am dust. 2, for my sake, the world was created. Together, they connect a despair and the grandiose, create the sea between worlds for the neo-Kabbalists to think into being, an earth with gravity to hold the atmosphere and the waters, to keep all from shooting off into space, to keep each box of memory intact for the sake of the children who don't forget being held against a mother's chest, interconnected heartbeats, giving both space to think again after infant misery and its sea of tears. Walking a path above the sea, sure, she remembers rocking a child to keep the peace in a disintegrating house she thinks belonged to someone else, for whose sake she was told to hush, to disconnect impulse from expression, and to hold still, God damn it. What has become of her hold on the storyline? Bring back the sound of the sea with sanderlings rushing waves that connect the earth and the oceans. Even now they keep sliding their thin beaks into the sands for the sake of their next meal, but somehow she thinks it refers to continuity. The way when we think of the long gone, complete with suitcases, it holds them in this world, not really for their sake, but as a ballast against the rising sea, which absorbs barrier islands and keeps surrounding us and keeps reminding us that all the oceans are connected underneath. We need to map connections as we build globes, however many ways we think up to distract ourselves. Plans that keep enumerating distinctions, that hold separate dust and sands that underlie the sea. Who has the chutzpah to say, for my sake, the planet keeps its course, hold steady. When I think of the sea, I remember dust. For my sake. Islands, a golden shovel after Muriel Rukeyser. In the expansive nature of that that open mouth, often reserved for shock or love, secular reference to God's names, outpouring of sound for the sake of sense. In so many cases, we say, they pack too much into too small a space and are at a loss to understand islands connected by the earth's mantle underneath the sea. Sometimes we ask why they move away from our gaze as we look out towards the horizon, nearly lost at sea now, and we must hold each layer tightly against the cold. On other days, we watch little boats bob their way across the waves at the shore's edge, the eddies at the break washing glittering foam towards them, towards the seashore. Late at night, we hear someone or something call out as if to keep reminding itself of a name or a date before the world was full of low humming. Then the sound profile so jagged, full of interruption. Some sounds can break your ears when they are continuous. Variation in volume cliffs. You topple over, hands over your ears, while the argument between drums and horns sends bathers to their sweltering hotel rooms. When you think about distance and little boats, islands provide short respites as though they are stingy with promises and appear separate from each other and cold at night, like the way darkness makes us afraid of them. The briefest guide to dream interpretation with cloud for eye. You've seen that postcard, refrigerator magnet, sky in the eye, which screens out most of what I'd prefer to avoid. The card of heaven guarantees success, and it's 1979 again, or 86 before all the making and unmaking. Lay out your sticks and hopscotch between. The girl waits impatiently behind you. My turn, my turn. And your mother has abandoned the field. You want to ask her why, but you already have. In the cafe, you sit together at the rusty table while the girl wanders past picking up pebbles for her collection. If you could stop time, you wouldn't. Even though you long for those days of milk and cookies, of sewing dresses for the preschool pageant. Roses and calla lilies, the garden is chaos like your mother's. Even though you promised yourself it would be different. The cards say heaven, 6 straight lines to the future. You ask for more sky.